Excellent. Impressions, personalities. Yes. Omar?
Yesterday, teacher, we saw that type of words we can use in a question. We make our own questions and match it with the answers. And I think my classmate uh, fill it up.
All right. Okay, yeah. We were looking at the questions, right? Some questions that we can use for information, correct? We were talking about that. Thank you so much. Alan, go ahead.
Well, we also practiced in a conversation in Teams, and we use the questions, and some people used to be an actor, so we can have the conversation with with it. That's it.
All right. Yes, you're so right. We were doing like this role play of being a celebrity, an actor, and then the rest of the people will be kind of asking those questions. Thank you so much, Alan. Great job. Aaron, go ahead.
Information questions and how to use what, which, when, where, who, why, and whose.
Okay, yeah, that's so true. We were calling them the WH questions, which are the ones that you just said. Yeah. Which, what, when, why, how, um, what else was it? Whose, like the possession. So yes,
What?
excellent job. What was that again?
Oh, the question, how, when, where, who, whose, and why.
There you go. That's what we were uh and I know that maybe it sounds so basic, but sometimes there's things that we might not remember from previous classes or even in general, right? So it's very necessary to go over them. Thank you so much, guys. And well, let's go ahead and begin. So, going back to that famous person. Yesterday we did it like in a group. However, today, just think about a famous person that you would like to interview. Think about that person. Now that you know who it is, what would it be something that you would like to ask them? What questions in particular would you like to ask that celebrity, that famous person? So think about that. And in the meantime, I would need for you to be prepared. Even you can do it in your notebook or in a paper or even directly here on the chat. And I want for you to write as many questions as you can to that specific famous person that you thought about, because I'm going to give you 2 minutes in order to write as many questions as you can. All right. So I will set up the time for 2 minutes and then just write as many things as you can. Raise your hand if you are ready. Ready with paper on the chat, but ready. Okay, 4 people are ready. How about the rest? 6 people, 7, okay. Ready. All right. So let's put our hands down and let's go ahead and start thinking about those questions. I'm going to start the clock right now. So go ahead, start sharing questions, start writing down questions, anything that you want to do in order to give as many questions as you can. So go, go, go. 30 seconds. 2 minutes in total, it's the time that I'm giving. So try to write as many things that come to your mind. Imagine that you have that person in front of you and that person only has 2 minutes to see your question. So go ahead and write them down. All right, 30 seconds left. Five seconds left. Time's up. So let's see how many questions did you get to do. And I don't know why I cannot see the chat on my phone. Let me see if I can see it here on the computer. It's not loading. Okay, so let me see how many questions do we have here. So start posting your questions. Okay. All right, so now I can see them. So, Jenny of Blackpink, which is your favorite song? Do you have a favorite artist? When do you have come back? Maybe when will you come back? Could be. When Blackpink have come back, who do you want more in Blackpink or other K-pop groups? Okay. What's your inspiration? Do you like your life? How many hours do you spend singing? Those interview Jackie Chan. Okay. What do you do for fun? How often you practice? What do you think about your job? When you begin your career? When did you begin your career? Could be. Why did you choose that work or that job? Okay. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What of your movies is your favorite? Do you have pets? What is your favorite cartoon? All right, even being more specific, right? Okay. Tobey Maguire, how did it feel being the great superhero in Spider-Man? Okay. Is it different? Maybe is it different the process to create a movie than the first one was made it? Tom Holland is a good actor, but is it a good Spider-Man? Okay. Tom Hardy, what did you feel when you appeared in new Spider-Man's movie? How many hours did you do in the records? Who actor is going to be the new villain in Venom 3? What are you going to begin the records of the movie? Okay. Where are you from? How old are you? What neighborhood do you live in? What's your name? What's your birthday? Favorite food? Okay, Grant Gustin. How did you become an actor? Which is your favorite character of all you have been? How many years did you take? All right. So I will take all this that you wrote as participation, obviously. I consider that whenever you I ask you to participate on the chat, I do take participations from there. Otherwise, I just take the ones that you say on the mic, okay? So excellent, excellent job. As you can see, and I've noticed, most of your questions were done with WH questions, right? And there's a very particular structure that we will further take a look on in order to just the regular direct questions. Now, we will see in this unit another way to ask things and be more polite. However, let's go and start right away our topic for today. So today we're going to just continue asking and answering questions about people. However, it's going to be more towards that other way of asking things. And that's basically what it's going to be about this time. So let's go ahead and start by looking at the picture right here on page 4 on your book. If you don't have your book, it's okay. Here we have the presentation. So the picture. Do you think that the people that it's in this picture are good friends? Yes, no, and why? So what can you say about it? Aaron, go ahead.
Maybe they can know each other, but there could be how to say it. Um, I don't know how to say this in English. Podrían ser conocidos de, de juego.
Okay, maybe they're not friends, maybe they just know each other. That's all, right? Okay, thank you so much, Aaron. That's a good guess. Then Fernando, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think. Do you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. I think they are like they know each other since they were a children because they look so happy, like they know everything of the other, like they play every day and all that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe there's those kind of friendships that are since they are little, and definitely why not? They're smiling because they know each other so well.
Teacher, you already take list?
Yes,
Is that
but
because I connect like 3 minutes before because my internet doesn't work and this time start to work so I can connect.
okay, don't worry. I just got your attendance. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so now I think that was the last person, or is there someone else? Daniela, go ahead, Daniela.
Yes, I think they are good friends because they are laughing together.
They're laughing together, right? And imagine, obviously, whenever you are with a stranger, you are not that happy, or maybe obviously don't feel that comfortable, right? So maybe we can say that because they are smiling, they are good friends. We can assume that. Thank you so much, Daniela. So let's go ahead and listen to the audio. Pretty much there's a script for this audio. However, if you have your book, you will see it. If not, let's try to pay close attention to what it said. Okay? And also, we're going to pay close attention to the question that says, well, basically, this is a podcast and it's kind of an interview uh, to Jared. And the interviewer's name is Amber. And we will see what they have to ask about this. Okay. So, our main focus will be, why does Amber ask questions about his friend Scott? So Jared has a friend whose name is Scott, and we will see why is Amber asking question about him. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to the audio, pay close attention, and then we will review what was said. Okay. So
Lesson 1.2, page 4, exercises 1A and 1B.
Today I'm talking with Amber Crane, a friendship expert. So, Amber, you have some questions that show if someone is a true friend. Tell me more.
Okay, I'm going to show you by example. Give me the name of one of your friends.
Scott.
Let's see how well you know Scott. Is he single or married?
He's married.
Okay, can you tell me where he was born and raised?
Yes. He was born in Chicago, but he was raised in Oswego.
Good. Now I'd like to know what sports or hobbies he's into.
He's into soccer and he likes to paint. Hey, I'm answering harder questions. Does that mean Scott and I are true friends?
Well, no. You could know these things about anyone through social media.
True. So, what question can I answer that shows Scott is a true friend?
Try this one. Do you know if he likes broccoli?
I'll tell you after the break. And after I text Scott.
all right. So the interview starts by Jared saying that Amber is a expert of what? Omar?
She's an expert of knowing who is your real friend.
Okay. So yeah, they were mentioning that it was like this friendship expert. And now, why does Amber ask questions about his friend Scott? So at some point, the interviewer asked, "Who's your best friend?" And then, why did she do that? Why did she started asking question about his friend? Can you recall that? Go ahead, Omar.
I think because if he got all the answers correct, it means he was a true friend. But as she said that anyone can learn this about social media. So when she asked about the broccoli, if he like it, um, so that's why she was asking those questions.
Okay, maybe to know how well did Jared knew Scott, right? So yeah, basically her reason to ask these questions in this interview was to find out if Scott was his true friend. So maybe sometimes when we are asking questions, we also try to obtain obviously information from the other person. In this case, they related to a friendship, but they usually do this in interviews, right? To get maybe more personal information of people. So here I will show you the script, which is the same one of the audio. Now, what questions does Amber ask Scott? So here we have the text. I won't play it one more time. I would just like for you to see what questions did Amber ask Scott. Only Amber, okay? So also one hint. One of the questions, it's a total of 4 questions that were asked, and one of the questions does not have a question mark. So let's go ahead and see what's the very first question Amber asked to Jared. So what would be the first question that you can see there, Ismael?
She asked about if he is single or married.
Excellent. First question, is he single or married? Thank you. Wendy.
The second one is, can you tell me where he was born and raised?
Excellent. Where he was born and raised, right? Omar, next one.
Now, this one doesn't have a question mark, but is that she wanted to know what sports or hobbies he's into.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then Pablo, last one.
She wants to know if he likes the broccoli.
If he likes broccoli. How many of you know if your best friends likes broccoli? So maybe that could be a very good question to ask, right? So I want for you to take a look on the structure of the questions. If this is a structure of a regular question, if it's not, I was just wondering if you could see or tell the difference from the previous questions that we were looking at, even from the questions that we had here on the chat. So as you can see, all the questions we asked on the chat was more like using the WH questions at the beginning. But then there's another structures, right? Like, can you tell me where he was born and raised? Or I would like to know, or do you know if he likes broccoli? So different things, right? I will be more specific in a little bit about what I am referring to, but for now, this is what we have. So let's continue. Now here, I just wanted to review a little bit. I don't know if you remember maybe this from intermediate or even from basic. So we have on verbs that are regular and irregular. Whenever we have a regular verb, it's because we are adding ed at the end, or even only a d. So they tend to end in ed. However, in irregular verbs, we can see that the base form, it's not the same structure as the past and as the past participle. So it is easier whenever it comes to regular verbs to convert them in past and past participle. Like accept, it's accepted, right? We just add ed. Want, wanted. And then love, loved, right? We just add the d and that's it. But with irregular verbs, we know that it changes completely, right? For example, do, and then in past, it's did. We don't say doed or do it. We say did, and then the past participle, it's done, right? So these verbs tend to be different in the different tenses of the verb. Why am I telling this? Well, it's just a refresh of this aspect. Maybe in later on the course, I might do a small quiz to see how are you guys doing with the verbs. because I mean they are very, very essential whenever we are in this language, right? It's very, very important to know how to use them, when to use them, so that way we can be able to be more accurate when using the language. Doesn't mean that if you at some point make mistakes means that, oh, you don't know anything, because it happens, right? Even to myself, I tend, or sometimes I change the verbs and I use them where I was not supposed to do it. So that's why it's always good to review this topic. And then the verb to be, which is the base form be, the past is was, were, and then been. It's the past participle. This is kind of not an exception, but the verb to be, I mean, it's very famous. It's is, are, was, were, etc. So let's go ahead and do some vocabulary for giving you personal information, but to complete it with the simple past, okay? As you can see in this first one, it says, I was born, right? And here on the box, they give us the option of be born, right? But we know that be, we have to change it into the simple past. So instead of be, we say was and then born. So I need people to help me out completing this. We will go from like periods, okay? Whenever we see a period, and then, for example, the first person will do number 2 and 3 because it goes all the way too far. And then the next person will stop on the next period, and so on and so forth. So, David Navarrete, go ahead with the first part.
No, miss, I have raised. I raised my hand because I have a question.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Go ahead with the question.
So my question is, what means rise? I never hear it.
Oh, okay. Raised is like whenever you grow up in, I don't know, in the neighborhood. Like I was raised, maybe you were born in one place, but raised is whenever you live in that place.
Okay, so it's mean like criado in Spanish.
Yeah, I didn't want to say in Spanish, but yeah, criado. So yeah, born is just the origin of place. And that's a great question. That's a very, very great question. Thank you so much. Okay, so before proceeding, is there any other question, or I forgot to ask you guys? No? Well, let's go ahead and continue. So Jonathan, go ahead with the first part.
Okay. I was born in Detroit, but I was raised in the country.
All right, thank you. Then next one, Ismael.
I lived with my family, my parents, brother, and sister on a farm.
Thank you. Pablo?
My brother and I was into sports, especially baseball.
All right, you turn it into past, but remember when it's plural, we use were.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
But good job. Thank you so much. Next one, after high school. And well, I will read that because there's no word to fill out. So after high school, I moved back to Detroit. And then Aaron, go with the next one.
Number 5, I live in a small apartment. Sorry, I live alone in a small apartment.
Excellent job. Thank you. Next one, Jonathan.
I didn't have any roommates and I was single. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, you can go ahead and read until the period.
Okay, okay. I didn't have a girlfriend at that time.
Perfect. Thank you. Next one. But I have a wife now. Now, starting with Alicia. Jonathan, go ahead.
Alicia and I were married 5 years ago, and we celebrated our anniversary last Wednesday. Wednesday.
Excellent. And the last part. Go ahead, Jonathan. Yeah, go ahead and finish it.
Okay, my parents took us out to dinner. They retired a year ago, so they have a lot of free time.
Perfect. So thank you so much. As you can see, whenever we use this vocabulary in the past, obviously the word be turns into was or were. And some of the verbs, since this is an auxiliary verb, we don't have to change the other verb. But then when it comes to have only the main verb, it's when we have to make the change, like lived alone, celebrated, retired, etc. So this is, I think it's a very good review for simple past, but also to notice how the tense of the verbs change. Um, and by the way, it's obviously giving personal information. So let's continue. We're just going to do part A. We're not going to focus on the second part. I just want for you to cross out the word that does not work in each sentence. So, what sentence does not make sense in this list? So, for example, Kelly is, we can say single, we can say married, but not born, right? Because we had to add like the place where she was born. So we scratch out born. Number two. I'm sorry, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. Uh, mm, Marcos was born. It doesn't belong there.
Okay, so Marcos was born. Mm, well, actually, let's reconsider that because it's talking about like a place. So maybe in this case, we could say,
Could be Rising Keto.
actually, it will be retired. So Marcos was born in Quito, was raised in Quito, it's okay, but not retired. Unless that it is some sort of job, maybe we can consider that as a retirement place, maybe, but in this case, maybe it makes more sense when we have with born and raised. Thank you so much. Let's go with the number three. Wendy?
The word is single.
Okay, so the word is single, right? Lives alone, lives with her cousin, but not live single. It will be just live alone, right? Thank you so much, Wendy. And then Ismael, last one.
I think it's the word raised. it not make sense for me.
Okay, so yes, definitely. My parents raised last month. I don't think that makes much lot of sense. All right, so let's continue. We're not gonna do this part. Okay, thank you for participating. And now we're gonna go to the questions. So yesterday we were talking about the WH question, right? We were saying that that specific starting of this structure. So why don't we try to accommodate it? So whenever we think about a question, how is the structure of that question? What do we start with? So what will be the very first thing that we will find in a question, regular question form or regular direct question? So I don't know, Wendy, do you forgot to lower your hand or do you want to say something? Okay, maybe you forgot. Ismael, go ahead.
Maybe the first word is WH words.
Excellent. Yes, definitely are WH words, right? Which is what, where, when, why, etc. Okay, what goes after the WH question? David Navarrete?
It's the verb to be.
The verb to be, right? Are, is, etc. Depending on tense. Excellent. But then what goes after the verb to be? What's the next step after putting the verb to be? Or the next thing to have? Fernando, go ahead.
Maybe the subject.
The subject, right? Yeah, definitely very important to know what we're talking about. Who are we talking about? And then we have, I will just call it the complement. However, every time that we make a question, we ended up with Ismael?
Question mark.
A question mark, right? That's the way we know that it is asking something, right? This could be, I won't say that like the definite way of writing questions, but maybe just a general way. And this in question form, we can also call it a direct question. Now we have something that it's called indirect questions. So with this, we're gonna see difference, some difference in regards to the way to ask questions. Basically, in indirect questions, these are a more polite way to ask for information or make requests. So usually we will use indirect questions with strange people, right? With people that we don't know. Obviously, we're not gonna talk to them like compas because it's just a person you don't know. It's just a way that you have to show that politeness to them. So indirect questions are there to help us for the politeness, especially in English that they are very, very polite. Also, indirect questions help to ask for favors, but in a more polite way. Even though you know the person, they can help you out to not sound so demanding or like if you are telling them to do it because you know them, but it's a more a better way to approach that person. um, so it can be used with strange people that you don't know, or to ask some favors and not sound rude. Okay, that's what indirect questions are for. And some things that we can find on the questions, not to say that these are the only ways to ask, but we can use modal verbs, right? Like can, could you, would you like to, etc., etc. I will later show you some phrases, some introductory phrases to ask indirect questions, but first let's see the basics of it. Um, Also, I would like to mention a very, very key point on indirect questions, and this is that we don't, we usually see obviously the question mark for questions, that it's completely obvious to us, right? However, in indirect questions, there could be possibilities that you might not be asking the question with a question mark. It can be using a period, and usually and most of the times, indirect questions are written in a statement order, meaning that I don't know if you have noticed, and I don't know if you remember from intermediate level, that there was this specific order, like you mentioned to me, that, oh, you first have to put the verb to be, then the subject, then the complement. However, in a positive sentence, or whenever we are making positive statements, we know that first it goes the subject and then the verb to be. So this is what it's referring to, that indirect questions does not follow the same structure as the question, information questions, or the regular questions, because they have this statement word order, or in other words, this sentence word order. Okay, we're gonna here see some examples. It says, where is Tecnológico Avenue? Well, we know that the structure, we have WH question, verb to be, and then the subject, right? Which is Tecnológico Avenue. However, that's the WH question, but in the next one, which is the indirect question, as you can see, first of all, we start right away with an introductory phrase, right? Can you tell me? Can you? That's like a modal verb, and that gives you a hint that, hey, this person wants to be polite. So with that, we know that it's the starting of indirect question, and then we have the WH question, which is possibly and definitely part of these questions as well. However, if you notice, that verb to be went all the way to the left. And then we had the subject, and then at the end we had the verb to be. So this is what it refers to, a statement word order. Any questions about this so far? Anything that you would like to make a comment of or ask about? Anything in particular? It's all clear? Raise your hand if everything's clear. Okay, sounds good. All right, you can lower your
Miss,
hands now. Yes.
I have a question. Why the verb to be changed the position?
Okay, the verb to be changes the position because remember that with indirect questions, we make a statement word order, which means that, for example, in a normal question, we always put the verb to be first and then the subject after it. But remember when, I don't know if you remember when we saw like positive form, negative form, and question form when we were looking at the tenses. So the question form, it's totally different order from the positive form. And therefore, here indirect questions actually follow a positive word order. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, Miss. Yeah, I got it.
So for example, we would say something like the Tecnológico Avenue is very crowded. So that's the structure of a positive form. And since indirect questions actually get that same order, that's why we can see the verb to be at the end. However, in the other way, it would be just a regular structure of verb to be and then the subject. So that's the very small change. And that's the way we can notice that it is talking about an indirect question. And we will see more examples. So hopefully that makes sense. Or if not, let me know, please. All right. So remember that they are positive statements. However, they're just in a question way that it's asked. But nothing, let me show you more examples here. So here, as you can see, it is written in a positive word order. Positive word order, statement word order, it's the same thing. So here in the direct question, where is Tondo Street? Now, when we turn it into a indirect question, first we know that we add the introductory indirect question, which is, can you tell me? Do you know? Could you tell me? May I ask? May I know? Those are the kind of, let's say, the beginning of indirect questions. Then we have the WH. However, remember that the order of the subject and the verb to be changes to the other way around. Now, if we had is Tondo Street, in the indirect, we will have Tondo Street is. Okay? And the same works with the rest of it. Do you know what time does the supermarket opens? What time does? Since we are in the indirect questions, we eliminate the word does and we just take the letter S or the suffix to the main verb, which is in this case opens. What time the supermarket opens? Could you tell me how much you earn? May I ask what he is doing? And may I know what your last name is? So you can see that they change the subject and the verb to be if there is one in the question. Anything so far? Is it clear? Is it confusing? Tell me about what you think. And please stop me whenever you feel like, hey, miss, I'm not getting this at all. Okay? Now, what happens, because we know that there are sometimes questions that are not for information. We know that information questions gets like the when, why, where, why, which, and all that, right? But what happens if it's a yes or no questions? Well, some indirect questions do not contain the WH question word. These are most likely recognized as the yes or no questions. An example, we have, has the class started yet? So this is basically a question that could be answered with a yes or no. Therefore, whenever we're gonna write it as an indirect question, you still add the introductory phrase, do you know? But then you add this word, if the class has started yet. So the word if, it's very, very important and very outstanding to detect that it is part of indirect question. So you have the phrase in which you're going to introduce this question, but if it's a yes or no question, you must add the word if. Do you know if the class has started yet? So if will be the clue to tell us that it is a yes or no indirect question. All right, raise your hand if you are getting it. Okay, 2 hands, 4 hands, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay. 14, great. 15, and the majority. Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's go for another more thing. And these are possible scenarios. That's why I'm presenting all this. Sometimes when we don't want to have like a very common question mark in indirect questions, as I mentioned to you, we can also identify the questions, the indirect questions that are only as written as a statement, right? That they don't need to have a question mark. So for example, we have, can you please help me move on Saturday? That's a question mark, and this is still an indirect question because it's can you please, and then whatever is the favor that the person is asking. However, if you want to make it a statement and not sound like a question, you can still use the same by just replacing it by, I was wondering if you could help me move on Saturday. And then, as you can see, you don't need to add a question mark. Just by adding the I was wondering and the if, that gives you a totally complete different scenario to make the question just a statement. But still, it is a question, but indirect question. Okay? What about now, guys? What do you think of this? Raise your hand if you get this part too. If we're getting it, please raise your hand so I can make sure that everyone or the majority understands. Okay, 11 people, 12 people, 13, 14. Okay, so it's the majority. Excellent. Thank you so much for raising your hand. So very, very few things that we have to identify on indirect questions. That's why here it's just a recap of everything. And we have questions within questions. Do you have any idea where he was born? Again, here we have the subject and then the verb to be, which is totally changed since it's a question. And then questions within statements. Now here we can use I would like to know, I want to find out, and depending if you want a yes or no question with if, or just a regular question with the WH. Okay, I was wondering, do you know if she plays, etc. All right, so let's go ahead and do some grammar for this. Daniela? Or you forgot to lower your hand?
Sorry.
Okay, no, don't worry. I wanted to make sure. Okay, number 1, let's do the correct rules here on this indirect question. So number 1, who wants to help us doing it? Omar, go ahead.
Is the statement word order?
Yes. We're talking about that they are the statement word order or positive word order. Whichever works for you, it's fine. So yes. Ismael, number 2.
Use if in an indirect yes/no question.
Excellent. So that's our clue, right? If. The word if, it's for indirect questions and at the same time a yes or no indirect question. And Aaron, go ahead with the last one.
For indirect questions, we which statements put a question mark at the end.
Okay. Remember about the statements. So remember that whenever it's with statements, we just keep the period and it would still be considered an indirect question. Okay. Obviously, we can also have question marks. However, whenever it's within statements, it should be put a period for that, and it would still count as a question, but only indirect questions. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So, um, any questions so far? I think we are ready to move to the actual assignment, or yeah, to an exercise. And well, as you can see here could be some indirect question phrases that you could use at the beginning of one. Could you tell me? Do you know? I was wondering. Do you have any idea? Do you happen to know? I would like to know. Do you think? Would it be possible? Is there any chance? So all of these are showing politeness and phrases to introduce an indirect question. Let's do some exercises here. I will give you 5 minutes in order to try to change these direct questions into indirect questions. You can use these phrases, you can use any that you can find, and we will share the answers in a little bit. Don't limit yourself. Remember that there could be many possible ways of asking those indirect questions. It is up to you. So 5 minutes. It's 2:10. I will be asking your answers at 2:15, okay? Just write them on your notebook or in your book or wherever you feel more comfortable with. All right, so let's go ahead and start sharing our answers. And, oh, okay. So some people are sharing it on the chat. How about if we go one by one? So who would like to give the first one? Fernando, go ahead. You will do the first one, then Pablo the second one, Omar the third one, and Jonathan number 4. So go ahead and start.
The first one is, do you know where is the bathroom?
All right, so maybe instead, where is the bathroom? Remember that we changed the verb to be next to the subject. In this case, the bathroom is the subject, then we have the verb to be, all right? Remember that we leave it as a statement word order. But yeah,
Okay.
can you tell me? Do you know where? Excellent. Thank you so much. Next one, Pablo.
Okay, the second one is, do you know what times does the BBA bank open?
Okay. In this one, remember that for indirect questions, we don't use the does. We just change like that little s to all the way to the main verb, which is opens. So we leave it like that. What time the BBVA or BBVA bank opens? So here we just add the s, stating that it was a replacement of the regular or direct question. Okay? Thank you so much. Emilio, next one.
I put, could you tell me why did you move to Guadalajara?
Could you tell me why do you moved to Guadalajara? All right. Yeah, and I'm sorry, it was Omar, not Emilio, right? Okay. Excellent. And then the next one, Jonathan?
I didn't change the question, so it is right as indirect question. Indirect question.
Okay. Yeah, actually, you're right. It can be done with the same because we can use can, could, would. So can you finish the assignment by tomorrow? We could say also, would it be possible or things like that. Actually, that's a very great observation. Thank you so much. And then next one. Who would like to try the next question? Who wants to try it out? Omar, go ahead.
I wrote down, could you tell me how much the Bravos Stadium ticket cost?
Excellent. Costs. Perfect. And then could you tell me? I would like to know whatever works for you. That's the best thing. Thank you so much. Perfect. And last one, Jonathan?
Okay, I wonder if you are coming to the party on Friday.
Excellent. Perfect. If you're coming to the party on Friday. And for this one, as you can see, we just simply used a period. And then thank you also for sharing your answers. Yeah, maybe you can compare them to this possible scenarios of asking these questions, but yes, most likely it's kind of this structure that we're using. Obviously, the introductory phrases can vary, and that's fine. That's okay. We are free to use whatever we wish to, but it is always good to have like a variety of phrases. So let's go to the next activity. So right here, I have a Elvis song. I have an Elvis song that I think will work with our topic for today. Um, I just want for you to take a look at the questions. Take a look at the questions, try to remember one, and then we will discuss if it's a direct question, an indirect question, okay? So let's go ahead and listen to a small part of the song, and then we will see what did we notice. All right. So how nostalgic and melancholic song is this, right? And well, I don't know if you want to discuss a little bit of what we saw in here. Maybe what questions were they direct, indirect? David, go ahead.
Yes, what is lonesome?
Lonesome. Okay. Actually, there's an activity that I will provide to you guys in a few moments after this, in which you will actually look for some unknown words that were here on this video. So after this research that we're gonna do, if you are not completely sure what that word is, then I can explain it to you. But let's first try to look up for the definition on your own. All right? But yeah, definitely good vocabulary. It's going to be here on this song. So, let's see. What other observations were you able to notice here? Anything in particular? What questions were you able to catch? Okay, Omar, go ahead.
Well, I could catch the typical questions of yes or no. When the first lyrics came up was, "Are you sure? Are you sorry we drifted apart?" And maybe that's a question of yes or no.
Okay. We were able to identify yes or no questions. And even here, the Are You Lonesome Tonight, right? Um, yeah. So maybe as a hint, Daniel, and so you won't feel like confused at all, maybe lonesome, it's similar to be abandoned, okay? Kind of abandoned. So that can give you a clue. But still, I will present to you a worksheet that you will work on, guys, and we will go from there. You will see a lot of vocabulary there. Okay, Omar, I like that observation. A yes or no questions. Anything else? Any other question that brought your attention? Let's see. Omar, go ahead.
Also, when he said, "Shall I come back again?" using the word shall instead of a WH word at the start of the question.
Okay. And maybe this is more related to vocabulary, right? This is kind of different way or the way that they use, and I think shawl it's more of a use in among British communities. So yeah, definitely not only WH questions are dominant to obtain information, but also maybe the verb to be, shall, etc. Great observations. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I have here an activity for you. Let me go to the next one. So we are going to go to our teams to work on a worksheet that I'm about to provide you, okay? I want to make sure to emphasize this, that you have to discuss more on the mic rather than using the chat. The chat could be maybe just to in a way structure whatever you're doing, but at the end my intention for you to go on teams it's to be discussing, be interacting, okay? I will share this document with you. Only one person has to turn it in. However, make sure to include the name of the people who are working with this. I will show it to you in just a moment. So please add your names to the worksheet and then make sure that one person uploads that to an assignment that I will create on Teams, okay? What are we going to do in this sheet or this worksheet? Well, first, I'm going to provide you with all the questions that the song mentioned, and then you're gonna decide obviously if they are direct questions, if they are indirect questions, however you see them. Then the next part, and this is the part that I was telling you, David, that there are some words that I think they are very great to know and even to acquire more vocabulary. And what you will do is to find the translation, and this is because I sometimes feel that we are more comfortable of knowing, oh, this is almost the same or the same as this in Spanish, and that's good. However, you also are going to maybe find a definition or even look up a sentence that it's using that word in order for you to remember what that word is. So if you see that it's helpful for you to find maybe just a sentence with the word on it, it's totally fine with me. So it is up to you whether you want to find the definition or the or just the sentence. And then on the last part of the sheet, the worksheet, you are going to be turning those questions that Elvis Presley asked into indirect questions. And if it's an indirect question, you have to turn it back to a direct question, which is the WH question, or just a regular one. So this is the worksheet that I'm talking about. I will share it to you in just a moment. So as you can see here on this part, it's just to check whether it's a direct or indirect question. You will discuss that on your team. Then on the second part, as I mentioned, here are the words, right? All these words right here. You will find the translation, and then if you want to add the definition or a sentence that will make you remember the meaning of the word. You can base these words on the lyrics to see if they are properly. You can even go to look up the lyrics of the song and see the context of the words to see if it makes more sense to you to compare them. However, with the translation and looking for the definition and all that, I think it will be good. And then this is the third part. Change these lyrics to direct or indirect question statements. Are you lonesome tonight? Obviously, we can tell that it is a direct question, so then we will make an indirect question out of these statements, okay? Are the instructions clear? Do you have like a question or anything you want to say before proceeding?
Not at the moment.
Not at this
No, teacher,
moment?
no question.
Okay, so I will share it to you. It's already 2:30. Well, let's do it. Make sure to work on this. Maybe you can split the work with all your team members, but make sure to come back to the call at 2:50. If you are done before that time, you can go ahead and come back, but if not, just make sure that you are on the general call again at 2:50 so we can wrap up the class, okay? So here it is. And I will open an assignment, okay? So there you go. Let's go ahead and start going to your teams. If you don't know what your team is, please stay on this call so I can tell you. But the rest of you, go ahead and start going to your teams. Okay, Daniela, you will be on team 4. Team 4.
Sure, we have the same team than yesterday.
Yes, it's going to be the same team as yesterday. That's going to be like the team that you will have for at least the next 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Ivan, you will go also to team number 4. Hello, hello. So we are here back from that assignment. I'm gonna change the due date and I'm gonna leave it at 11:59 p.m. before midnight for today. So you, in case that you did not, were not able to complete it, well, you have that time um, to upload it, okay? So you can still work on it throughout the day. Just make sure to upload it before midnight. And well, hopefully that kind of helped you a little bit of getting more what indirect questions are. So why don't we wrap up? It's almost time. So before we go, tell me something that you will remember for tomorrow. Omar, go ahead.
The type of questions, direct and indirect.
Type of questions, direct and indirect. Thank you. Ismael.
I learned some difference of direct and indirect questions.
The difference, right? How can we tell that it is an indirect or direct question? What else? What else can we mention or what else can we say about today's class? What can be some key words that will tell us that it's an indirect question? Ismael?
Words like can, could, will, if.
Okay, some modal verbs and also if, right? Remember if, it's a very, very important word. Thank you, Ismael. And anything else? I think that's basically what we discussed about today. I'm gonna be uploading like a very small part of the lyrics of the song. It was the second part. My intention was to play it right here, obviously, without looking the lyrics, in order to practice your listening skill. So I will upload maybe an additional Word document. This is not obligatory, obviously. This is for your own practice. So what you can do is maybe play. I will share the link for the audio, but you can play it and then you can kind of try to listen only. Try not to look at the lyrics because then um, it would not work, right? The thing that we want to develop is our listening skills. So preferably just open the link and then turn it away or do something without looking at the lyrics. And that way you can kind of guess or listen to what words are missing on the lyrics, okay? But I will give you a worksheet that will give the instructions. This is just for extra practice. This is something that I'm not, this is optional for you guys, so it's up to you. Now, I think that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for being here on assisting here today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Have a good one. Take care and see you.
Thank you, teacher. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you,
Bye.
miss. See you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you,
good
miss.
one too. Thank you.
Teacher, only for a question. From because I can connect like early for my internet. I am not going to have the assistance or what?
No, actually, I already took your assistance.